Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to watch our video today. My name is Nikki Rice, and I'm here to introduce you to the United Charities of Ohio Coalition. This is a brand new coalition formed by charities for charities, because our goal is to make sure that you, the charities of Ohio, who do such great work in this state, have the opportunity to have your voice heard at the table. And when I talk about having your voice at the table, I mean specifically those charities who utilize charitable bingo in order to fundraise for their organization. I'm hoping to do a couple of things with you today. The first of which is give you a little background and history on what charitable gaming in Ohio, where it's been and where it's going. This is so you understand sort of the environment that we're in right now and are able to see the challenges that lie ahead for you and your organization. The second thing I'm hoping to do is give you an idea of what United Charities of Ohio, or UCO as we refer to it, is going to do for you this coming year. We're hoping that you join and become a member, but we want to make sure you know that we're serious about what we're hoping to do over the next few months so that you know this is an organization that's worth your time. Finally, what I'm hoping to do is give you the reasons why you ought to be a member. There are lots of things that we will do that will be beneficial to your charity, and we hope benefit charities all over the state. And we're going to give you those incentives. Where we've been over the last few years. Charitable gaming started in Ohio in 1975. So we were coming up on 40 years of charitable gaming in Ohio, or charitable bingo. And just a note, when I say bingo, I refer to all forms of bingo, both the traditional and the instant forms that I know a lot of you use. Charitable gaming was the first form of gaming authorized in the state. It's in the Constitution, and it was in the Constitution with a charitable purpose. The voters of Ohio said, we want charitable gaming, but we want it to be for a purpose that serves the public. After that came along the lottery, which is also in the Constitution. And then many years later, casinos came into the state with a constitutional amendment as well. Following that, as you all well know, there are racinos and then also skills and sweepstakes parlors, which I'm sure you're well aware of, that most of them are in your communities, that are not authorized by the Constitution, but do have some regulation around them. So you started off with no competition whatsoever, but really over the last 5 years, you've had scads of competition come into your neighborhoods and into your communities that have perhaps had an impact on your bingos. Now, for you, charitable gaming in Ohio, the Attorney General and the state legislature have the regulatory authority over you. And you all know the Attorney General comes in, they do their audits, they handle the licensing, they're pretty heavily involved. And the state legislature is able to make the laws and rules that regulate you. You all have dealings with them on a regular basis, so I don't need to go into too much detail there. You also know that over the years, bingo laws have changed on a regular basis, and sometimes they've changed for the better, sometimes they haven't changed for the better, and part of that, again, is because there hasn't been a voice of the charities sitting there saying, this is what we need, these are the things that will help us, or these are the things that aren't helping us, this regulation is overburdensome and not really accomplishing what you want to do, there are better ways to do it. Now I'm going to give you some numbers next that sort of give you where charitable gaming was and where it is now, to give you a context of how that competition has really affected bingo in the state. In 2005, charitable gaming in Ohio had $1.5 billion in gross receipts. That number in 2013 had dropped to less than $800 million. So in a period of 8 years, there was $600 million that left charitable gaming. And again, this is information that you all have and know. You've seen the sweepstakes and skill games come in. You've seen the casinos and the racinos run by the lottery come into your neighborhoods. You've heard your customers talk about where they go there and spend more of their money there than at your bingo. So this is probably not news to you, but I think that big net number is important to talk about because that's $600 million that isn't out in our communities for charity anymore. That's money that has likely gone into the pockets of those for-profit organizations. And that's a big number, and I don't think folks have really realized what that's meant to the state. I want to just impress upon you that the aggregate of all of your little charities and what they've lost over the last 8 years has a really big impact on what we've done to the state. Some other numbers in there, between 2009 and 2012, there was a 16% drop in charitable licenses. And again, this is information that you all know. You've seen the bingos down the street from you or in the next town over close or only go to a festival license. You've seen them change what they're doing because of a lack of customers, because customers have gone to other places. So this really isn't a surprise. The increased competition that you all have faced, the increased regulation, the increased competition from the lottery in particular, because we've seen what they're out there doing and really making an effort to sort of come into the charitable bingo space. All of that has contributed to a real lack of, I would say, participation for bingos. You've got your tried and true folks, but there's not those new customers coming in. We're seeing folks who are your tried and true go to other places. And I know this varies in the state. I know that some areas that are close to racinos and casinos are likely to see a bigger drop initially, and then maybe some folks come back. And I know that particularly for those of you in northeastern Ohio, you've had an incredible increase in the amount of skills and sweepstakes folks who have come into your neighborhood and maybe left for a little while and have now come back. So I know that your competition varies based on where you are, but make no mistake about it, there is increased competition across the state, and those folks have paid a lot of money to have voices in Columbus. And unfortunately, there is no, until now, organization that stands up for the charities and say, hey, these guys are taking business away from us. We're important to the state too. You need to make sure we have the same seat at the table that they do. Now let's talk a little bit about what happens if we don't stand up for ourselves right now with that environment that we're in. I mean, I've mentioned it. I think that those folks who have those big voices in Columbus, the casinos, the racinos, which is the lottery, which has a huge voice in Columbus, the skills and sweepstakes, they're going to come in and they're going to make sure that they get what they need in Columbus through either regulatory or legislative work. And I've seen it. I work in Columbus. To give you a little bit of background, I've worked in the charitable gaming field for about 7 years, and I've spent the last several months traveling around the state to get to know you and hear about your problems and sort of see what we need to do that might help you in the future. And so I've heard you, and I've been in Columbus with these folks, and I see them in the hallways, and I see them in meetings, and I see them making sure that they get what they need. Well, it's time for you to do the same. It's time for you to make sure you're getting what you need from those folks who regulate you and legislate you. The loudest voices are going to get what they need. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So we need to make sure that we're a squeaky wheel. We've got to protect those local fundraising opportunities that come about through bingo. And again, I think some of these folks, they think of bingo as being, oh, my grandmother goes and plays it, or, oh, it raises a little bit of money for new flags or whatnot. They don't understand that for many of you clubs and charities out there, this is how you keep your doors open. They don't understand that for a lot of schools out there, this is how you pay for tuition for some of your students. They don't understand that for those of you who are serving the disabled or the needy in our communities, this is how you stay in business. They don't get that this is how you survive, and we need to make sure that they understand that more than anything else. So we need to be that voice at the table. And I think we have to do it now. I think we've talked about it for a couple of years. I know folks have told me that in times in the past, a decade or so ago, folks have tried to sort of bring the charities together. And I know there are other groups out there who have talked about bringing charities together. But I think now is kind of a now or never time. I think if we don't stick together now, I think if you don't stand up for yourselves now and make sure that you have that voice at the table, then your opportunity is going to go by. We've seen the drop. $800 million in 8 years, or $600 million in 8 years is not going to be the end of it. That number is going to continue to decrease. It's already hard enough for you to operate as a bingo operator out in the state. I'm afraid that if we don't take a stand now, the time will pass us by. And you know that your community suffers when bingo disappears. You know that the fact that you've lost bingos means that there are fewer fundraising opportunities in your city, that there are fewer good deeds that are being done. So we need to make a stand now in order to prevent any more of those good deeds from going by the wayside. So I've mentioned this United Charities of Ohio, right? And I've told you that I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. Well, we're to that part now. Here is what we're going to do. First and foremost, we're creating this coalition. And it's going to be an informal coalition. There is absolutely no cost to you to join. It's just a group of folks getting together and making sure that we've got a common agenda and can speak to it at a level where we're talking to legislators and regulators. It is your voice, and for it to be your voice, it requires your participation. We have a really good membership already started. We're adding new members every day, but in order to keep that going, we need more folks to join, because the more voices we have, the more people who are able to stand up and say, this is important to me, the better off we all will be. We've been organizing statewide. I've gone to almost 20 different meetings all over the state, talking with smaller groups of charities, finding out what they need to know, finding out what's hurting them, finding out what's helping them, and getting a sense of whether or not they think this is a good idea. Turns out everybody thinks it's a good idea, so we're going to keep going forward, and we want you to be a part of that. We've organized statewide. We've got a website that's up, www.unitedcharitiesofOhio.org. And we will be, putting information out on that on a regular basis. I want that to be a great resource for you all, not just to get information from us, by the way, but I think there is an absolute opportunity out there for charities to talk to charities. I want you guys who are up in Cleveland and have great ideas about what you're doing to get new members, talking to folks in Cincinnati who are not your competition about ways that they can perhaps take advantage of it. I want folks over in Western Ohio to talk about their banking practices with folks over in Eastern Ohio, because maybe there's a way to save on funds that you guys haven't talked about before. And just by virtue of having a place where you can have that conversation, you are able to make your charity more efficient, spend more money within your charity, and help more people in your community. This is going to be a place that is for you. This is not for anybody else. This is to make sure that you have an opportunity to talk to other folks in the same situation and get your voice heard. We want to help you connect with local elected officials as well. I can't say this enough. You guys do such great work out there. You are doing amazing things and nobody knows about it. Your local charity maybe talks to a couple people. Maybe your local press will cover, a check writing situation every now and then. But nobody knows about all of the awesome things you are doing in your community, and we have to change that. We're going to change it on the website. We're already featuring charities who are doing awesome things out there. We'd love to feature your charity if you become a member. We want to make sure that larger newspapers hear about you. We want to create a press situation where there is things happening on a regular basis around the state, talking about what charities are doing what in which neighborhoods. So we sort of change the appearance of what bingo is in the Ohio. I mean, I think for a lot of folks, bingo proceeds maybe just get trickled back into the community. There is not, again, as I've talked about before, there is not that aggregate sense of all of the good work that you're doing. Our website's going to change that. Our conversations with legislators are going to change that. Your conversations with your local elected officials are going to change that. We'll help you every step of the way. We'll make sure you have the talking points that you need. We'll make sure that you are prepped and totally primed to have those conversations, because I know it can be intimidating if you've not done it before. So we'll make sure you are in a position to succeed. The nice part about this is I am going to be very efficient with your time. I promise you, I make this vow to you right now, that all of the grunt work will be done by folks behind the scenes. We will put you out in front so you can talk about all the good things you are doing and make sure that your voice is heard by your people. And again, make sure all the grunt work, all the behind the scenes stuff that takes the actual time will be done by us. I want to emphasize that any charity who utilizes bingo to raise funds is able to be a part of UCO. If you've got 20 minutes to give me, if you've got 2 hours to give me, it doesn't matter. I want you to be a part of this because I want your voice to be heard, and I will take whatever ability, talent, and time you have to give and make sure that we put you in a position to succeed. Okay, so I'm going to go through a little bit of the timeline now of where we've been and where we're going with United Charities of Ohio. As I said, over the last several months, we've been traveling around, sort of talking to charities all over the state, and hearing what they've had to say, getting their input on what our agenda should be, and sort of, again, making sure that this is a good idea. We've done that. I think we're in a position now where we've got enough to go forward, and we're going to do so. We've recruited members. We've sent out a survey. Hopefully you got a copy of it and sent it back. If you did, thank you. I'm your person who got it and put that information in. If you did not have a chance to complete the survey and still want to do so, it is available on the website. We would love your input. We've surveyed, we're starting to build that agenda. Once we sort of have compiled everything and put it together, we're going to put it back out to the membership and let them know this is what you have said, does this jive with what you're thinking? And again, this agenda is going to be for everybody who utilizes bingo. This is not just for your traditional bingos, nor is it just for your type 3s. It is going to be for everybody. There will be something on it for everyone. I want to also say, though, it's not going to be perfect for everybody. This is a large, diverse group, and therefore the agenda may not be everything that you want to see right now. But our goal is long-term. This is a first step. This is not the end-all and be-all. This is our first step into this, and so we'll make sure the agenda has something for everyone, but to get everything that you want is going to take more work probably down the line. We continue to build our membership, we continue to build our database, and then once we're sort of, as that website has come online, we're going to push information out to you on a regular basis about gaming issues within the state. It was a busy 2014 for us, trust me, but 2015 is going to be even busier. The General Assembly, which is where most of our work will be done, operates on a 2-year cycle, and they are about to begin a new 2-year cycle come January 5th, 2015. It's when all the new legislators will be sworn in. Governor Kasich will be re-sworn in, I think on January 12th. So we have brand new legislators who all need educated and all need information on this. Now, the General Assembly also has to pass a budget in the first 6 months of a new session. So by July 1st of 2015, the state will have a new budget. Typically, the budget is used for appropriations, but there's also often a lot of policy changes that go into that budget. This is where we want to make our play. We are hoping to get our proposed changes for bingo into the state budget. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it's a bill that they have to pass, right? They don't have a choice about it. They must pass this budget. So if we're able to get our language in, it will be done by July 1st of 2015. The second reason is, this is when most of the legislators are in town. This is when they're paying attention. We've got a lot of new folks that I think we have the opportunity to be educated and to be excited about the issue. They're around a lot. This is a really strong opportunity for us to educate and to get some champions in the legislature who can help us with this. We need to make our mark in the first 6 months of this year. We're going to be around for a long time. This is not a 6-month, opportunity. We're going to be around. We're going to continue for years to come, hopefully. But we want to start off strong. We want to make sure that all those other people we've talked about, the casinos, the racinos, the skills, and the sweeps, know that we're going to be there and know that they need to talk to us as well. That if anything's happening in the charitable gaming space, we need a seat at that table. And in order to make sure we have that seat, we have to come out of the gate strong. So we will continue to grow our membership. In the beginning of the year, we will have sort of a big official announcement of United Charities of Ohio. We will likely have a press conference. We will invite a lot of charities to participate in that. We will have press coverage. We will continue to highlight the works that charities are doing. We want to make sure people know that if they're talking about bingo, they ought to be talking to us. And then again, with your help, we're going to continue to educate our allies. There are a lot of other groups out there. Some of you clubs and organizations have statewide organizations that we want to partner with this. Those of you who may be religious organizations will also have higher-ups, no pun intended, that we'll need to get permission from to continue to operate within your space. There's a lot of other people out there who are interested in the charitable gaming issue, and we want to make sure that all of those folks who care about bingo and care about your success are able to be a part of this coalition. And finally, the nitty-gritty of it is to write and support the legislation that furthers our agenda. Again, our plan is to get this language into the budget. But what that means is likely writing our own standalone bill that we can talk about, having hearings, talking to legislators when they're back home in the district, talking to legislators in Columbus. For example, one thing that has been very successful in the past is having a lobby day where charities from all over the state come in and meet with their own legislator on the issue, and then follow that back up with a meeting in the district, because it reinforces then for that member that this is a voter. This is somebody who lives in their district, who talks to their neighbors, who votes on a regular basis for these members, and that this is somebody they probably need to pay attention to. All of this is sort of fluid right now. I just kind of wanted to lay out for you what we're planning to do in 2015, at least the first part of 2015, so that you have an idea of where we're moving. Again, I also want to emphasize this is a long-term endeavor. This is not something that come July 1, if our language is enacted, we're done. No. There's a lot still to do in charitable gaming space. There's a lot of protection that bingo will need from here on out. We plan to be around for a very, very long time. Even more important for you to get it on the ground floor with us right now so that you can be a part of that conversation for the rest of the time we're here. So finally, I want to talk to you about what's in this for your charity. And we've talked a little bit about that throughout, but I want to really hone in on it right now. Again, if you aren't the voice for your own charity in the state of Ohio, who's going to do that? There isn't anybody out there who's going to stand up and say, oh, I've got tons of free time. Here, let me go talk about an issue I have no engagement with or no involvement at. You know your issues, you know your community, you know the things that are impacting you, you know the things that will help you. What better person to stand up and say, this is what needs to be done, legislators. This is what needs to be done, governor. This is what needs to be done, regulators. And I'm here to help you through that process. There is nothing more powerful. I gotta tell you, I work in Columbus every day. I'm in the State House on a regular basis. These guys like me, right? But you are more powerful than I am. You are their voter. You are their citizen. You are somebody who's taken time out of a very busy life. And by the way, I know you all have busy lives. You have work, you have family. Bingo is something you do for a host of reasons, but that takes a lot of time away from other things you enjoy doing. I get that. I'm not going to ask for a lot of your time, but I do think that this is important enough to spend some amount of time on. And I think the fact that you are carving this time out to talk to these legislators or to write letters or to have them visit your bingo makes a huge impression on them. They really welcome it. They relish that opportunity. And I think you'll see great results when you do so. You also now will have the opportunity to be tuned into issues about charitable gaming. I mean, you know, in these meetings that we had, there was a lot of folks out there who would get misinformation, or there were a lot of rumors about what was going to happen next, or who was coming in, or what they could and couldn't do. We want to make sure and clear that up for you. We want to be a resource so that if you have a question about a regulator who came in and asked for something and you're not sure whether they asked it correctly or you don't understand what they mean, you can come to us. We will help you find those answers. We will help connect you with other charities. We will ask the questions ourselves of the Attorney General. We want to be a resource for you to get those questions answered. Again, I've said it before, but this is your opportunity to shape the agenda. This is your opportunity to be a part of something and say, this works for me, or this would be terrible for me, or that doesn't really affect me, so if it helps other folks, go ahead and do it. If you don't stand up and sort of have that, be part of that conversation, you don't really have a chance to impact what happens to you at the end, and your situation hasn't changed at all. You're right back where you were before United Charities of Ohio came into existence. And again, this is my #1 goal for you. I want to highlight all those great things you do in your community. I want to sing your praises from the rooftop. I want to make sure that people know what you're doing and the work that you put in to make it happen. There is no magic fairy wand out there that you're waving that's making sure kids in school have flags, or they're learning about, what it takes to be part of an honor guard. There's nobody out there making sure veterans have burials when their families can't choose to afford it except for you, and people need to know about that stuff. I want to reemphasize, there is zero cost to you to join. This is an informal organization. I get to do all the fun grunt work. There's a couple other folks who are helping me, but this is not something that's going to cost you a lot of money because there's a lot of salary or overhead or any of those things. This is an informal coalition right now. We just really want to get the work done. And I have to tell you, when we're talking about all those good things out there, this is a very personal mission for me. Bingo paid for my high school. I received a scholarship to a high school because of bingo proceeds. And those proceeds enabled me to get where I am today. I care tremendously about what you're doing out there. There are lots of people all over the state, just like me, who have benefited from bingo, and we just need to harness that energy and bring it together and make sure people know of all of the good things that you're doing. Those legislators, a lot of them just don't understand yet. They haven't had the opportunity. It's not malice. They're not trying to be mean. They just don't know. And if they just don't know, what do we need to do? We need to teach them. We need to tell them what's going on. We need to show them what you do and what can help you keep that seat at the table. Okay, so after that personal appeal, we'll bring it back down a little bit. In the months to come, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. We're going to be putting stuff on the website. We're going to be asking for your help in perhaps sending letters to the editor of your local newspaper, being part of a press conference, participating in that lobby day like I talked about, inviting a legislator to your bingo. I would love, during the breaks, which are usually March and April-ish, I would love to get legislators out to some of your bingos. If you're willing to do that, there's a contact form on the website. Just send it in. We are welcome to take any and all enthusiastic folks who want to be a part of this. So, just let us know. And again, at any level, if you can only write a letter to the editor, and yes, don't worry, we'll provide you with a template so you're not starting from scratch. If you just can sign your name and send it in, that's great. If you can have a legislator to your bingo, we'll make sure we get somebody there with you and make sure you have all the information you need to be successful. But we will need your participation. I've mentioned it a couple times, but I really think that your voice is the voice that needs to be heard. We'll help you, we'll make sure you're prepared, but we're only as strong as our membership. We continue to grow, we are going to be a force for the next 6 months and for years to come, and what we really need and really want is your participation. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening to this video today and watching this video. If you need more information or want to contact us, again, the website is www.unitedcharitiesofohio.org, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you in the months to come. Thanks.